We need to start having these conversations on how we can best support our body way sooner, whether you're looking to get pregnant or not, whether you have other health conditions going on or not. Like, we need to start. The earlier, the better if we can't start today.
Welcome to the Fusionary Health Podcast. It's your host, Dr. Shivani Gupta, and I am so excited for this guest today. I have Dr. Carrie Jones on the podcast. Welcome, Carrie.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to talk with you.
Thank you. Me too. It's been a long time coming. I have met Carrie at so many conferences. She had me on the podcast with Rupa Health and the Root Cause podcast. And I really have enjoyed getting to meet you every time I get to see you. Here's a little background on her. Carrie is an integrative holistic women's health and hormone doctor who believes in the importance of you understanding your body in a simplified manner so you can have the aha moments and take control of your health. She sees firsthand how the health system can fail women, especially when you are told everything is normal and you don't feel normal. So welcome, Carrie. Thank you for coming on today.
Well, this is going to be a big topic of conversation because right before we hit record, we were just discussing all our hormonal roller coaster things that are going on lately. And even you and I experience them.
Absolutely. And everyone who follows my podcast, my social media, or my Instagram lives knows I'm pretty obsessed with the topic of perimenopause because I'm in my mid-40s. Y'all, when I hit my 50s, you will hear me talk all about menopause. It's just whatever I'm obsessed with at the moment. And because perimenopause is such a beast, it has me really digging deeper into like earlier women's health issues, like the PCOS, endometriosis, which is really like indicators of what's to come. And those are their own issues. Infertility. I speak on a lot of infertility podcasts as well. And then we talk about women's health, thyroid health, hormone health, subclinical thyroid. Women suffer a lot with that in their 30s. Then you reach your 40s, and a very close friend of mine was like, what is this? Like, our 30s are dedicated to kids and breastfeeding and managing them and the brain fog. And then 40s, we're dealing with teenagers, and this is what we're presented with. And I was like, yeah, it's not fair. But
it's not. Yes.
I don't know what to tell you. My health is a full-time job in this moment. I accept that that's 44 to 45, and I hope I can do all the work in a concentrated quarter or two and then come out of it and not have to stress about the topic of health. So will you, Carrie, kick us off with, your background that led you to being a practitioner and then why you're obsessed with perimenopause and this topic as well?
I became a naturopathic doctor, and I was always in the pre-med route my whole life. I've known I wanted to be a doctor. I thought I wanted to be an MD or DO, a conventional doctor. I was headed that way in college until I had the aha moment. I was volunteering at 2 different hospitals when I was in college, and I thought, this is way too sterile. It's way too disassociated. It's not natural enough. I went to college in the Midwest, so we didn't really have the concept of natural. But I knew this isn't what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Moved to Portland, Oregon, and found the naturopathic school and thought, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to bridge the two. I want to be able to discuss holistically and nutrition and root cause, and at the same time have access to all the conventional primary care, acute care that we have available. I want to marry the two. Nice. I got into hormones right away because I realized I didn't know very much about my hormones. My health class was taught by the football coach, so you can imagine how that went. And then a lot of people around me didn't know about their hormones either. I had a lot of women in my life or in the medical program with me who opted for different specialties say, yeah, I'm not doing hormones, that's too hard. Or I'm not doing hormones, that seems too complicated, but I don't know anything about my hormones. And when I got into practice, I found a lot of women, I was in my 20s at the time, they'd be in their 50s, 60s, 70s, full-grown women, full families, grandmothers that would say, yeah, I didn't really know. I didn't know how I got pregnant. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know what these symptoms are. I don't know what menopause is. This was never taught to me. And so right away, it became a mission that we needed to educate starting young, but at the same time, sometimes just starting right where you are. A lot of women hit perimenopause, like you said, like your friend. They're like, what is happening? And no one's ever mentioned to them, oh, it's reverse puberty.
Yeah.
Like, we did puberty. Now we're doing it again. But we're throwing it in a reverse and backing out of it. So it's going to be chaos. And if we had been taught that through the years, through the generations, if like your grandmother knew that, taught your mother who taught you, and all the aunties knew, and just everybody generally knew, like, hey, here's what's coming. Here's how we prepare. Imagine how much easier that would be. So that's what I'm trying to do.
That's a powerful phrase, reverse puberty.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think of it that way at all, but you're right. It is pretty much that tumultuous.
It's when you go through puberty in your teens, everything's, especially as a woman, but I mean men too, but especially as a woman, think of like plugging in big electrical, cords into your brain to turn things on. Like we're going to turn on all the things you need to become pregnant, get a menstrual cycle, grow and develop. Everything's getting activated. Your frontal lobe, thinking, like all the things. Now we are hitting our 40s and the brain goes, we don't need this anymore. We don't, we're not going to get pregnant. I mean, like I don't need to scan the room for crying babies. I'm not talking about women who are like, wait, I still want to get pregnant in my 40s. Yeah. But in general, as women age and move through perimenopause, then the brain starts to go, the ovaries are getting done. They don't want to do this anymore. So I'm going to start clearing house. I describe it as remodeling your house, but living through it. So if anyone's remodeled their house or just remodeled their kitchen or a bathroom, it is a gigantic pain in the middle.
Yes.
Once it's done, it's beautiful, but you have to live through it. And that's what it's like in the body. The body says, we're going to remodel this for 6 to 10 years, just like puberty. And then on the other side, it's going to be wonderful, but you have to hold on and get there.
Oh my freaking God, Carrie.
Yes.
I hate that analogy. And yet it rings so freaking true. I'm like, what the fudge?
I know.
I did have a bathroom remodeled. In 2020, we discovered a wall of mold in my house from the upstairs bathroom to the downstairs. And when the handyman looked in, I thought, we're going to die. Like that can kill a family. Like that's a lot. And thankfully we were able to section it off. But I'll never forget my bathroom, which is upstairs, they had to rip up the shower. And so they put plastic from the front door to the back. I don't allow shoes in my house. And every day these men would come with their dirty boots and their deconstruction. So they would traipse through the entire house with dirt and dust for months to do whatever they did. And you're telling me that this is a 6 to 10 year journey?
It is a 6 to 10 year journey. Now, just like in your house, you made accommodations.
Yeah.
Like you had the power. You could section things off. You could vacuum every day. Like you could put necessary measures in place to deal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you didn't have bad days or you swore a lot.
Yeah.
Or threatened to just burn it down and start over.
Yeah.
But it's in the same as in perimenopause. We as women have a lot of power. There is a lot that hasn't been taught to us yet about what we can do to take back our health, how we can modify, modulate, move with the times.
True.
But what happens is that we get into it and it does seem like the initial remodel has happened. It's the doom and gloom. It's the dust and dirt. It's the chaos we can't control. And it feels overwhelming because no one's taught us yet on a global scale, like, oh, actually, there's a lot we can do. Here's a lot of options.
Sure. Now, what I'm seeing online that I'm consuming like a crazy person, and Facebook and Instagram must know my obsession. I'm following all the women around the M factor, menopause, Tamsin Fadal, if that's how you pronounce her name, Dr. Marie Claire Hevert, Jessica Shepard, and there's a whole group of them. They just had the hottest menopause party. And so just by studying the menopause movement and what they're talking about, I'm just retrofitting that information into perimenopause, where I'm like, okay, if my estrogen is going to disappear and that becomes a cardiac, brain, everything, gut impact, if that's like the most detrimental bomb you're going to drop off in me, okay, let's plan for that.
Yes.
If everything's going to deteriorate, let's plan for that. So I'm kind of retrofitting. But for the listener today, will you explain the hormone journey of perimenopause just to framework it?
Yes. I first want to start off with the whole group that you just mentioned. They didn't get the traction. The menopause in general didn't get the traction till 2023? Really? 2024, it exploded. And finally, it's become a lot more commonplace.
Right.
And I have been talking about hormones since I graduated in 2005, which was, of course, largely before a lot of social media.
Right.
And it didn't get the traction. It wasn't important, didn't care in social media land, in education land, in schools.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, that tide is completely changing in a lot of ways, not 100%.
Yeah.
But we're making big strides, thank goodness. And so now that education will come, it will become commonplace. But what happens is that you right now are born with so many follicles, which are the cells around your eggs in your ovaries. There's maybe some research to show that, there's maybe the ability at some point with some magic and some science to regenerate some of these follicles or get new ones with stem cells. We're not there yet. We're not that cool. But right now you're born with a certain finite amount and you lose a bunch every month. And those are the cells that make hormones out of your ovaries. They go down, 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 down. And so there's a reason, on average, women hit perimenopause in their 40s, although it can be as young as their late 30s. Some go into their 50s. Because the follicles are your hormone-making cells, as they decline, and the brain is trying to say to the ovaries, hey, estrogen, go. Hey, progesterone, go. Hey, testosterone, go. Nobody's listening after a while. Sometimes they listen. So sometimes hormones do what they're supposed to do, but sometimes they don't and they go down. So this is why women go, I used to get really regular cycles. I used to be clockwork and now I'm not. Or I used to sleep really well and now I don't. I used to be a certain weight and I could maintain it with my diet and exercise. And that has completely changed. Now I have gained a belly that I didn't have before. So I hear a lot of these used to. I hit my 40s. I hit 45. Carrie, on my 45th birthday. I'm like, I know, because our consistent, regular production of hormones month after month starts to become less consistent. It's a roller coaster we didn't plan for. And eventually through the years, the hormones are down completely. So the follicles are not making hormone anymore out of the ovary. And so our roller coaster goes from loop-de-loops and big bends to pretty flatlined. And now we're down estrogen, we're down progesterone, we're menopausal, we don't bleed anymore. Postmenopausal, we haven't bled in a year. And what happens? We get all these symptoms.
Right.
So I love the menopausal discussion. Once your periods stop, once you've gone 12 months without a period, you're considered menopausal. This is what we need to do. But honestly, if you just listened, you're like, whoa, what about late 30s? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We need to start having these conversations on how we can best support our body way sooner, whether you're looking to get pregnant or not, whether you have other health conditions going on or not. We need to start. The earlier, the better if we can't start today.
It's so true because I have women all around me. I have women on fertility journeys. I have women who were on fertility journeys and they've had their kids now with help with IVF and support. And, right after you're done with that, and what's interesting, you said the follicles stop listening. I was like, oh, like my teenagers.
Yes.
As my body doesn't want to listen and produce its hormones, my teenagers also won't listen. Could create some slight rage issues in our mid-40s. Now I see why. When I was talking to my practitioner, she's like, do you get angry? And I was like, well, I kind of don't like anyone after 6:00 in my house. Anything you can do for that. And last year I hired a practitioner in July. I called her up and I was like, something is wrong. I am a very happy, very optimistic, very motivated person. And I'm on this downhill slide trying to hold on. Yes. And by the way, when I have a problem, I just triple down. So I was working out, lifting heavier, went on an all protein diet. I was like, I'll do anything. And still it wasn't working. And so she put me on a full hormone replacement therapy plan. And I was like, listen, I'll try your way. I'm open to trying every way. I would go at it all through food and naturally, but my way is not working right now. So I'm open to all toolboxes. And the way we stabilized my hormones, I feel like original Shivani again. I feel like I did 15 years ago, where my brain, it works, my motivation works, my energy works. I'm happy till 10 o'clock at night in my home with my kids, which is a big deal. I need that energy for the teenage years. So how do you guide women to understand the importance of hormone replacement therapy? And what are some of your favorite tools in the toolkit for women to think about in perimenopause well before the menopause window starts?
Absolutely. And everything you said about mood, rage, anger, not liking people in your house, so common, in fact, that they've done active research on it. And they're doing active research. The National Institutes of Health has designated money to research to find out what happens to women's mood as they go through perimenopause. We could tell them for free. Yeah. We're pretty outspoken and mouthy, but they are dedicated some money to it. And they've found it's a significant percent of women, their PMS gets worse if nothing's done about it. PMS gets worse, depression gets worse, anxiety gets worse, rage gets worse. They may be diagnosed with PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So you are not alone. The first hormone to decline consistently is called progesterone. Progesterone is made after ovulation. which is when you release the egg. It is our calming, soothing, relaxing hormone. It helps us have easy periods. It's our progestation hormone. It's the hormone you needed if you were looking to implant and get pregnant. We like progesterone. So it comes out a couple weeks before our period and kind of goes up like a big, huge mountain and then drops back down again if you're not pregnant so you can get your period.
Sure.
The problem is, as it drops down, we lose out on all those benefits I just said. We may not have super nice periods. Our PMS gets worse. We may feel like we have full-blown PMDD. Our rage is worse. Our anger's worse. We're not calm anymore. One of the big brain hormones that progesterone can play a role in is called GABA. GABA. It's our big inhibitory neurotransmitter in our brain. Think of it like a brake system. On your car, you have a gas and a brake. GABA says brake. Slow down, calm, relax, meditate, yoga. That's GABA. I was reading this amazing article. It was a review article, and they said humans, as they get older, lose GABA. They lose their brake system. It's why we see the older generation maybe say things they shouldn't. We see them do things that we're like, where is your brake system? Where is your filter, right? GABA plays a role with that.
Interesting.
The article said women get doubly screwed, unfortunately, because when progesterone goes down, we don't make what's called a progesterone metabolite that goes up and stimulates GABA. So women don't feel calm. They don't feel relaxed. They don't have nice periods. They're not loving life. They're definitely rageful and irritable, and they definitely don't have a filter on their mouth. So without that progesterone, we get these symptoms. Well, when your estrogen also changes, we have a main estrogen called estradiol. And in perimenopause, it does go up and down. It's supposed to. But sometimes it can get very exaggerated up and very exaggerated down. And when we get these wild swings, it also impacts our brain hormones like serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin. So serotonin is often associated with mood. Think of like depression, right? Like we call it a happy hormone, just is a broad tagline. Serotonin, your happy hormone. Well, if your estrogen is not great, your serotonin won't be great. Dopamine, mood, motivation, like anticipatory motivation. You are a type A go-getter. You run businesses. But if you don't want to do that, it's like, oof, there goes your dopamine. Yeah. Oxytocin is bonding, love. I love my kids. I love my family. That's what oxytocin does. I love being in big groups of people. I love my community. Estrogen helps to stimulate that. Well, if you don't have a lot of estrogen, if it's dipped down, then you're like, I hate my kids. I hate my family. I hate my community. I don't want to leave the house or take my bathrobe off. Like, no,
Yeah.
And so none of this
in silence.
Exactly. And none of this is explained to women. And yet it's like, oh, that's what happens when you get this age. Oh, that's what happens when you have kids. That's what happens when you run a family or run a business and have a family.
Yeah.
What? No, hormones. So to answer your question, what do I feel about even hormone replacement? If you are a candidate, I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of the foundations, the diet, nutrition, the exercise, the stress management, the sleep, reducing toxicity. Girl, I know you. I know you were a level 10 at all of those, and it still wasn't enough. Like you did as good as you could and as much as you were doing. Like, heck yeah, you got you as far as you were. And you took hormones and like, the old Shivani's back. And I'm like, yeah, why suffer?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Why suffer? And it's interesting when I finally got them to understand, I was like, listen, I think I have no progesterone. And they're like, well, you have no symptoms. You have no symptoms. We asked you the symptom list. You have no symptoms. So basically no one was believing me. It took me years to finally be like, freaking test for this. At this point, I'm getting my own certification degrees so I can order everything myself because I'm sick of being beholden to any practitioner. I'm over it. So I'm becoming certified in everything at this point. But when we finally got the result, they were like, oh, you have 0 progesterone. And I was like, oh, I'm postmenopausal and progesterone. I think that's been true for 5 years. You just go based on symptoms. And I'm asking you to go deeper in the data. And I think that women are getting frustrated. I had a friend recently go to the OB and the OB said, yeah, this looks like perimenopause. If you would like to regulate your hormones, let's just put you on birth control.
Yes.
And I was like, are you kidding me? I know that OB. I love him. He is very evolved. But he obviously has not studied this topic. If that's his response to you, his response should have been, please find someone who specializes in hormones. I'm too busy to study it, but there is hormone replacement therapy and you have to calibrate. So find someone who has time. You are a candidate. That was a better answer than birth control. So what are your thoughts around, you talked about estrogen, you talked about progesterone. people don't know pregnenolone and testosterone, which I consider all four pretty important in this time period. And then there's also thyroid, which I have many people who've done thyroid on this podcast, but just touching on that importance as well in this time frame.
Absolutely. So pregnenolone is also a hormone that's commonly, we call it like the queen hormone. It's the mother hormone to a lot of hormones, meaning in your cell, depending on which gland or area of the body you're in, the very first step, your body takes cholesterol. Yep. Just like regular old LDL cholesterol, like you're thinking, and it turns it into pregnenolone. And then pregnenolone turns into the other hormones. It goes through a stepwise process. Now, here's what's interesting. Pregnenolone is a supplement. Some people may be familiar. Doesn't do that. In your cell, your own body's pregnenolone will do that. It's the first step, and then it moves down the track. When you take pregnenolone, the supplement, though, what happens is it gets turned into another hormone called allo. Not like the plant. It's spelled ALLO, allo. And allo is what we call a neurosteroid. It goes up to the brain. It's very brain supportive. And allo also supports GABA, your brake system. So some people take pregnenolone and they go, I just feel so much better. I feel calmer. I feel less irritated. I feel less rageful. And oh, by the way, I just feel like my hormones are better. Like, right, because I know that pregnenolone works from the brain down. It's a neurosteroid. So if you have an excessive amount of stress, a lot of illness, a lot of infection, and it's impacting the brain, that's going to trickle down and impact the ovaries or the thyroid or the adrenal glands. So pregnenolone can be really helpful at calming the brain, the brake system, so that the downstream effects can be improved. So I do like pregnenolone.
Nice.
Then we have testosterone.
Yeah.
Testosterone is made a few places in the body. It's made in our ovaries. It's made in our adrenal glands, which of course are our stress glands. They produce cortisol and adrenaline, epinephrine. And then it's also produced sort of like what we call out in the tissue, out in the peripheral tissue. So women have a couple places it's made, which is different from men. Men predominantly only make testosterone in their testicles. It's kind of like one factory, whereas we have a few factories. Testosterone, as we know, is really important for bone health and mood health and libido and muscle mass. It's unfortunately has not been studied as well in women as it has been in men. And there is no FDA approved replacement for women as there is in men. When we use testosterone for women, it's considered off label. Sadly, we're really hoping that's going to change here in the next year or two. Like, I think enough uproar is happening. And I'm hoping the pharmaceutical companies, at least for that, are listening. But testosterone is an interesting one because testosterone naturally declines with age, regardless of menopause. So some women don't lose their testosterone that quickly, but they do lose progesterone and they do lose estrogen quickly. So they don't actually need it right away. Other women just tank out. Other women just like everything. When one thing goes, everything goes, like a domino effect. Progesterone goes low, estrogen, testosterone, the whole thing. So I am actually personally more careful with testosterone because too much testosterone at the wrong time can cause side effects, hair loss, acne, weight gain, anger and irritation, things we're trying to avoid.
Sure.
So if you have been tested and your testosterone is quite low, you're a candidate. But if your testosterone's still doing really well, but your progesterone and estrogen are low, I'm like, oof, let's start there. We'll come back to testosterone later.
Right. That's interesting. So it's not assumed to tank in perimenopause like the other fluctuations. It depends on the person and we should just get checked.
Yeah. No, it doesn't mean there's somebody listening. There's a lot of people listening who I know are going to comment and go, no, mine tanked in my 30s. Like mine tanked in my early 40s. I'm like, absolutely. I fully like believe you 100%.
Yeah.
I did a consult the other day on a woman in her 60s, not taking testosterone. Her testosterone looks great.
Nice.
She's just that woman. Now, I didn't know her younger. It's possible younger, she had very high levels. It's possible younger, maybe PCOS, right? Like she had very high levels.
Right.
PCOS is polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yeah.
And now that she's in her 60s, it's dropped to a manageable amount.
Right.
But like kudos to her for making good levels of testosterone. Now it's working to her advantage. Other women, not the case.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shivani Gupta, and I created Fusionary formulas because I believe everyone deserves a natural way to support their body's health. If you struggle with joint discomfort or stiffness, our turmeric gold delivers powerful curcumin in a form your body can truly absorb. It's science-backed with the highest quality ingredients and designed to support your body's natural inflammatory response. Take the next step in your health and wellness journey today. Visit fusionaryformulas.com and use code FusionaryHealth for 15% off. Fusionary Formulas, ancient wisdom, modern science, maximum impact. Yeah. And I went to a practitioner in my 30s. She was an acupuncture friend of mine, and I was seeing her for, I can't remember what. I loved acupuncture a lot around pregnancy and post-pregnancy and all those symptoms. But when I went to her and I said, oh, my testosterone's low and I'm an entrepreneur. I have this boulder I'm pushing uphill called my idea to change the world. And it's not easy. And if my testosterone's low, I know my sister and other people have great testosterone. I want some. She goes, no, you should not mess with your hormones. Do everything naturally. And so I did try, leg days became my favorite. I went heavy on leg days because I know that'll increase testosterone. I started doing different supplements to help. But I was never able to do it naturally. And so now I am taking it. And yes, there's side effects to testosterone. I do think you have to be a little careful and measured in it. So I'm being a little more moderate in it right now. But the energy and the motivation it gives me, it switches me from sweet Shivani, which I like hanging out as sweet Shivani. In business, it pivots me towards a little bit of a strong masculine energy that I can pull from in my business. So it pulls me into badass Shivani, basically. I love that feeling because I haven't felt that way in a long time. I've had to self-generate the I will win. My idea is great. I will change the world with turmeric. Yes. I will convince every doctor. But it was very much from an empty gas tank. And now the tank is it's like an unequivocal feeling. So it's a very powerful feeling to have it on board again.
Yes.
And that's why I tell women get help, get support. Don't just live without your hormones on board because it's off label currently. That's not a good enough reason not to have phenomenal quality of life.
Because it's available. It just means it's off label. So it doesn't just we don't have an FDA approved part for women.
Yeah.
So often the FDA approved for men is given, we just use much smaller doses, or it's compounded to be in smaller doses for us.
Right.
With the understanding that we're hoping very soon this will become FDA approved. But yes, I had a neighbor that said her testosterone felt like her battery pack when she used her. She could tell immediately it was so helpful for her. Others, realistically, I give the whole spectrum. Others don't feel that way. I've had others who say, oh, I was so hopeful testosterone would be a battery pack.
Right.
And I didn't feel that. It doesn't mean still that something's wrong with you. It just means we have to figure out what your battery pack is. It's totally possible your cortisol's low, your thyroid's low, you have nutrients that are low, you have infection, inflammation we need to deal with. There's potentially other reasons your battery pack is getting drained, and we have to find those.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because oftentimes when we as women talk to each other, I just went out with my friends a couple months ago, and one woman was like, testosterone pellets are it. And so another friend of mine looked at her well, I want to look like that. If that's how you can look in menopause, obviously that's the solution. And I said, hey, wait a whole second. I have a supplement company carried by hundreds and hundreds of doctors. Can I have 5 seconds to go ask about this? She goes, yes, I'll wait. So I went and started texting Dr. Amy Horniman, Nat Nidham. I started texting all my friends. I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts? And the consensus, there was no consensus, of course, because everyone has different viewpoints. But one opinion was, don't do pellets unless you really know what you're doing, because you can go real high by putting something in the body and then it drops. And others love cream. They are fine with cream. I happen to like injection just because it felt like a stronger result in my body. And so each of us is so different, but I think it's about finding that right practitioner. And like you said, it might not be the cure-all. There might not be that magic mega result you want. I can't say that testosterone for me was everything, but it was one piece on the whole toolkit that I took that I've enjoyed the results of.
And I will say testosterone, just like estrogen, just like progesterone, will not build the rest of your toolkit. For example, I know your nutrition. I know the supplements you take. I know exercise. I know the stress mediation things you have in place in your life. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone will not replace that. If somebody's listening to this going, ooh, yeah, I totally burn the candle at both ends. I'm living on caffeine. I don't have time to work out. My stress is a 10 out of 10. I'm up late scrolling or mindlessly watching Netflix before bed, so I'm not sleeping. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone will not fix that. We have to 360 fix this, work on this, address this bit by bit. And so I love that you say toolkit because yes, hormones are part of the toolkit, but the toolkit's all encompassing of who we are as women moving into our 40s and 50s.
Absolutely. And don't you think that the self-care toolkit has to really get much stronger going into perimenopause? Like I teach Ayurvedic self-care. I teach everything you just said. I teach circadian and sleep, gut health, digestive fire, diet from the sattvic, nutrient-dense standpoint. I teach super herbs and spices. Take your turmeric, please. My PhD is on turmeric. I think it's the best thing ever. I teach all about the self-care rituals for detoxing, circadian lifestyle with your schedule and your sleep. And then I teach like the Ayurveda philosophy of bringing body, mind, and spirit with your elements. Imagine I teach that whole pie. And that pie got me through decades of like gut health issues and all the things. It rebuilt me. I hit my 40s and I was like, I need my toolkit at a 5 to 10x level.
Yeah.
Or else everything falls apart. And so it's been interesting because you're right. If we don't build the foundation with lifestyle and health and vibrant health, then these tools on top are not going to do what we're asking them to do. But if you build that foundation first and then you build the structure on top with hormones, then I think you're entering menopause stage with every, like all the lights on in the house, with all the energy flowing through, with everything that you need.
Yes. And I wish, and I'm hopeful that is what's going to be taught from a young age. We will start learning just general self-care as preteens and teens. We will see it as normalized as opposed to selfish. We will start to incorporate some of these things in our 20s. I understand the 20s are a wild ride for a lot of people. Incorporate what you can. Then as you move into your 30s, incorporate some more, double down on some more things. Because by the time you hit your 40s, you'll already have been building that foundation. You'll already kind of know what works for you and doesn't work for you. You'll know what you have to double down on and what you've been ignoring. And it will make it easier for sure. I love hormone therapy, absolutely. But I love it even more when the women come in and say to me, oh yeah, I've been working on the foundations. I'm not saying it has to be your whole life. I understand if you've ever watched social media, now there's so many things you have to do, right? You have to like eating enough protein is its own full-time job in the day. And then you add everything else on top. I'm just saying,
I agree.
You're doing what works for you. You're feeling pretty good. You're at least a solid 7 out of 10 or better. There's some 6 days. And then we can layer in on hormones with that. But if you feel like a train wreck, you have sadly watched your life become a train wreck, like what can we start to work on? What foundations can we do and layer in with it at the same time?
Absolutely.
It's never too late to start, but you have to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some other topics around perimenopause that you're researching or studying that you find really interesting right now?
Well, you mentioned gut health, which I think is really, really important and overlooked, although I'm starting to see it more in the research in an education. When women go through perimenopause and our hormones decline, estrogen and progesterone, they play such a big role in our GI tract that now researchers are like, oh goodness, that decline in estrogens and progesterone is actually really negatively impacting their microbiome.
Wow.
How they do and don't digest things. If they do or don't get heartburn. What's going on with their inflammation that's generated out of the GI tract, the gut, the intestines, which can then translate to things such as maybe autoimmune disease or illness or pain, worsening hormone symptoms. And so now that we have more research coming out and more education on this, I think we're going to start seeing that link a lot harder, more specific. Like what can we do in our diet, in our nutrition, with our hormones to strengthen and fortify the GI tract, the intestines, so that we don't have gas and bloating, so that we don't feel more reactive to foods, so that we're not having constipation or diarrhea, so that we're not like, gosh, I'm getting heartburn in my 40s all of a sudden. Like, what is this about? Like these symptoms that kind of come up and we blow off as adulthood, or we blow off as like, oh, that's no big deal. But if it never goes away or it gets worse, It is a big deal. We have to address it.
Absolutely. And then there's gut-brain axis. So you
Huge.
destroy gut with estrogen, progesterone tanking, you cause gut microbiome damage. You're talking about brain fog, brain issues.
Worsening. Oh, absolutely. We already have brain fog because the estrogen's gone down. Estrogen plays such a big role in getting glucose into our brain so we can, like, our processing speed, like a computer, like how fast does your computer function? Estrogen helps with that. Executive function. Can you think of a name? Can you finish the sentence? Can you walk into a room and remember why you walked in there? Can you open a tab on your computer and remember why you opened the tab on that computer? Or do things freeze? And you're sitting there trying to think, what was I just going to do? Brain fog. And then if you, like you said, if you have all sorts of GI issues, gut issues, it will just compound that. And we're trying to avoid that.
It's true. And so what other ways does perimenopause affect us? You said gut, you talked about GABA, we talked about the hormone fluctuations. What are some other key pieces we need to know?
Well, in the broad picture, if we take a step back, we have 12 systems in our body. So think of like your heart system, your brain system, your skin system, your ovarian system, like you have all these systems. You have 12 of them. The changes in estrogen and progesterone can negatively impact all 12. It doesn't mean it's going to impact all 12 of yours. But if you're noticing symptoms like my ears itch, what the heck? I'm getting hives. What the heck? Okay, it's impacting your skin. It's impacting your mucous membranes. If you're noticing it's in your hair, in your skin, in your nails, your heart. Last year you had perfect cholesterol. This year you do not have perfect cholesterol. Last year you had perfect blood pressure. This year you do not have perfect blood pressure. That can be impacted by the change going through perimenopause. We talked about the brain already. Joints. Estrogen plays such a huge role in joint, right?
Shoulder in people.
Frozen shoulder. Why was this never connected? And even still, I will hear people go, well, it's not very strong in the literature.
It's ridiculous.
Like, talk to a woman who has frozen shoulder. She'll make the connection for you.
Totally.
She's on it. But even fibromyalgia. There are a lot of women diagnosed with fibromyalgia in their 40s and 50s. And now Dr. Vonda Wright and her research team have the article, The Musculoskeletal Syndrome of Menopause.
Right.
Because it's so prevalent. That's like, hello, we know what it's related to. So let's address it.
Right.
So it's, I say this again, not doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But educational awareness. Like you went to the doctor for years and said, I think I have low progesterone. I think I have low testosterone. And guess what? You were right the whole time. The whole time. So when women are going and saying, my ears itch and I get hives and I think my hair's falling out. Also, I'm rageful. And they're like, well, that's what happens. Yep. As women get older, like, oh, you have 2 kids in a company. That's what happens. What?
Yeah.
No, like new doctor, new practitioner. Let's get some help.
Yeah. I mean, I recently told my friend, I said, there's a website called the Menopause Society. That's what I heard from Dr. Marie Claire Hevert.
Mary Claire.
And I was driving the other day and I thought, wait a minute, my mom turned 70 this year. That means she has no estrogen, and estrogen's protective. My mom needs to be on estrogen. I have to go to that website and find a doctor with her. So I texted it to her. I'm sure she did not do the homework. I'm going to have to find one in Houston, Texas for her and make the appointment and make her go because I need her protected. And we didn't think of HRT that way in the past. The last 20 plus years has been, it's the devil, it's evil, it's going to cause cancer and all the bad things. That's been refuted. Even now, when I talk to doctors, because my network is amazing practitioners who I love and respect, and my close family is all MDs with a very conservative medicine viewpoint. And so the other day I was like, yeah, I'm taking hormone replacement therapy. And someone looked at me like, that's very dangerous. And I looked at them like, you are not caught up on what's happening right now. There's a revolution around HRT for feeling and looking incredible. And even if it did shave 5 years off my life at this point, I would take this result. I tell my friends all the time, you could tell me, Shivani, I'm sorry, you don't get 90 to 95. Taking it away, that's your punishment. And I'd say, I don't care. I want to feel good and vibrant now and for the next 20 years as I go through this journey. I want my brain, I want my energy, and I want my mood.
Yeah.
And so have you seen that with women?
The number of women that I've heard, I'm laughing because women will say to me, you're going to have to pry my hormones out of my cold dead hands. Like, I'm not stopping them.
Correct.
Now, like anything in the whole world, including supplements, they're not risk-free.
Sure.
But I do believe some of the risks have been blown completely out of proportion. Absolutely. And again, you and I talk very strongly about all the foundational stuff. Yeah. And I also believe that some of the risks, have to do with route of administration. Do you swallow your estrogen or do you use an estrogen patch? Right? With your progesterone, do you swallow your progesterone? Do you do an estrogen, vaginal or estrogen cream or progestin IUD? Like there's all these different routes that get lumped under one umbrella. Oh, I don't do estrogen because whatever, that increases clot risk. Okay, that's estrogen you swallow. There is a slight increased risk for clot risk. So let's try the patch, which doesn't have the increased risk. Like getting into the nuance of this detail does take study. I understand. So I can understand why it's getting lump summed out there as, all estrogen causes this problem or all progesterone causes a problem. But as you said, trying to find an expert to help guide you through this. And it's completely okay to meet somebody and be like, I don't think you're a good fit for me, and move on. Right. Just like if you hired somebody to mow your lawn and they did a horrible job mowing your lawn, you wouldn't hire them back. You would be like, thanks, but no thanks, we're moving on. We're going to find somebody else. Correct. You wouldn't just keep going and be like, well, but they're the lawnmower, they're the crew. That's who comes. No, you don't want your lawn looking like crap, and you don't want to feel like crap. If you love your doctor for who they are as a primary care, if you love your OB because they delivered your kids and they give the best pap smears ever, fine, great, keep them. Yeah. But you need a hormone expert at the same time.
Correct. I think every single woman who's mid-30s onwards needs to make sure they hire their own hormone expert.
Yes.
A separate advisor on the team. And if you want it covered by insurance, you might have to look deeper because it is more involved. It is management. It takes some time. It's not like a 5-minute appointment. This is a bigger conversation. So we might have to save up and invest, I find, because I haven't found like as many practitioners who can put all that time in on it, but they must exist. So
yeah, I tell people if you call, ask your friends and family first.
Yeah.
If you're in Facebook groups, ask around. Sure. If you're looking insurance, this is what I did when I got new insurance and needed a new whole clinic. I called and asked the front desk.
Sure.
I said, hi, I'm looking for a women's health expert. I'm looking for somebody who really understands women's health and hormones. Is there anybody here you could match me with? And she was like, oh, yes, this person. Look her up. I'm going to go ahead and schedule you an appointment. And I was like, great, thank you. Now I understand not all front desker is helpful, but it's a start. You can ask. This is what I'm looking for.
I love that. Thank you, Carrie. You are amazing. I could talk to you for hours. I would love to have you back on my podcast. I know you have an amazing book coming out next year. I can't wait to read it because I really do follow you for my perimenopause advice online. I'm like, Carrie said this, I'm going to listen. So I love all the content you share. I encourage everyone listening today, follow Dr. Carrie Jones on Instagram and on social media. She's incredible. Do you have any final thoughts for us today? And will you share where everyone can find you?
Yes, you can find everything at drcarriejones.com, including a whole bunch of free resources. I have a perimenopause free ebook guide 101. Go grab it, go download it. I even have a lab guide you are welcome to have so that when you were listening to Dr. Shivani's experts on thyroid and things like that, and you just want a little checklist of what you should order. Cholesterol, we mentioned today. Which cholesterol should you get ordered?
Yeah.
I have that for you, drcarriejones.com for your resources. So thank you.
Amazing. I love that. You are helping so many women who are going through this roller coaster ride. I deeply appreciate it. Everyone who listens to this podcast knows that this is my favorite topic to dig into because women should not have to suffer. That's how I feel. We should get every tool we need and we should have it in advance and ready for us. And like you said, it's foundations plus the bigger toolkits. And why not get them in there and feel amazing?
Yes.
So thank you for joining me, Dr. Carrie. You're awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening today to the Fusionary Health Podcast. To learn more about this podcast, visit my website, shivanigupta.com. And there's more info on this podcast there. And I'll see you guys next week. Subscribe, like the channel, leave a review, and we'd love to see you next week. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Check out our sponsor, Fusionary Formulas, the potent turmeric supplement used by doctors around the U.S. for patients with pain and inflammation. www.fusionaryformulas.com. I'm your host, Dr. Shivani Gupta. For more, visit shivanigupta.com. Subscribe to this podcast in Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Click the follow button or subscribe in any of the apps that you use. That's all I've got for you on the Fusionary Health Podcast this week.
You have the power to transform your health and achieve vibrant health starting today.